Let's check in with Jim Haller. He is with the Bankruptcy Company, and he joins us here on The Mindset. Jim, good to talk to you once again.
Good morning, John. Congratulations on the 5 pounds.
Well, is it a real 5 pounds?
Jim. Don't congratulate.
I got an email.
Real.
It's not real. It's not real, but I'm feeling good right now.
Yeah, you got to take it whenever you get it. So,
and I am so hungry.
However it happens.
I'm so hungry right now, I'll tell you that. Okay, top 10 signs that you may be having some trouble with the debt. I love these kind of lists because usually people who are facing some troubles can see themselves in one of these 10 or maybe more than one of these 10. So let's start off with some of these numbers. What are some of the reasons where you might be getting into too much debt?
Well, John, this is something I came up with. This is kind of my own personal top 10 things that I've seen when I've talked to my clients and they've come in or I've recommended that they go someplace else for some help. But the number 10 reason, it's kind of a funny one, are you borrowing from Peter to pay Paul? If you're not Paul, you might need some help.
Okay, you talking about where you have $10,000 on one credit card, so you open another credit card and you just roll that in?
Well, instead of paying one credit card, you're basically paying another credit card. Instead of paying for your utility bills, you're paying for your prescriptions. Instead of paying for rent, you're paying your utility bills, and you're constantly behind on what you need to make payments on. I think those of us out there who have been through that, they certainly recognize that it's a juggling act, trying to keep up and not fall behind on the payments as they come due.
Okay.
Number 9 is basically the balance on your credit cards. Generally, what I tell my clients when they come in is if the balance on all their credit cards is more than about half of what they gross in a year. So if you make $30,000 a year and you have $15,000 in credit card debt, you have to think how long it's going to take you to pay that back. If you didn't have them deduct any money for taxes or insurance, it'd take you 6 months to pay that back, and that clearly is not a realistic thing that's going to happen. So you may want to see if you can get some help.
Hey, a question about those credit cards. If you're trying to pay them back, should you just pay the minimum, or if you can do more, do more?
My feeling is if you can pay them back more, pay them back more. Because when you just pay the minimum, you're basically just paying mostly interest. And the minimum payments on these credit cards, if you just pay the minimum, it may extend out for 10, 20, 30 years before you're done paying it off. And people really don't recognize that when they're paying the minimum payments. And frankly, the credit card companies, in my opinion, they like it when you pay the minimum payments. That's how they make their money. All credit card companies last year made millions. Some of them made over $1 billion just in the interest payments. And so my advice is if you can pay the principal down, definitely do it.
You know what, Jim? We just got hung out on one of those, too. I hate electronic payments because a lot of times you don't know if it actually got through and did it get through on time. We just got a notice back from a credit card we've had for a long time. It had a little balance. They said, you were a day late. They jacked us up to 25%.
Oh, my God.
We've been on time, paying off in full for years with these guys.
But you did it online?
And it was online. It got there a day late, and they jacked us up to 25%. So we canceled it just like that. We're like, fine, you want to play that game?
Yeah.
Thanks for playing.
That's right. And the problem is, John, you got to check your other credit cards because a lot of the credit cards have something called a universal default clause where if you default on one credit card, they notify everybody by your credit report, then everybody pumps your rates up.
That's hard to believe. So, again, your bottom line on number 9 here, your gross pay for 6 months. $40,000 a year job. If you have $20,000 in credit card debt, you're in trouble.
You might want to talk to somebody.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Next up. Number 8.
Do you live paycheck to paycheck? I know a lot of people do, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're in deep financial trouble, but it means you're not able to put money away for savings. It doesn't mean that you're able to salt something away in case something bad happens and you have to spend $1,000 to fix your car, or you have a problem with your water heater, or something else dramatic happens that's going to throw you for a loop. That's a sign that you're basically living on the edge, and you may want to come in and talk to somebody about reorganizing your budget and figuring out how you can start setting some money aside.
Okay.
It's a danger sign.
I see number 7 here, calls from collection agencies. Doesn't everybody get those, whether you actually owe or not?
Yeah, well, they do, but a lot of times when you're getting calls every day or you're getting them every other day, when they start calling your parents and your neighbors, it's a sign that they're getting very aggressive and they might be moving towards legal action. A lot of times they bluff legal action And frankly, they might also be violating a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So if you feel that they've been rude to you or abusive to you or done something you think is illegal, you need to contact an attorney because you may have a claim under that act. You have to file that lawsuit within a year. But you have to, when you start getting a lot of those calls, it's a sign that they're tired and the credit card company has usually farmed it out to another agency, and then they are going to collect and effectively be relentless.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest things that drive people into my office are collection agencies.
Okay.
So,
number 6, I see also credit cards once again. What's this one about?
Well, if you're using your credit cards to pay necessities like groceries, prescriptions, gasoline, a lot of times people will do this, and I'll see this a lot with a lot of my retired clients. They don't have the income; they're on a fixed income, but they're getting lots of credit card offers. And the question is, well, do I not pay for my medicines that I need, or am I going to put it on the credit card? Well, I mean, a lot of people are going to say, my health is a little more important than my debt, and I'm going to put it on a credit card. But if you find yourself in that kind of a situation, you really ought to come in and talk to somebody because that's not a sustainable way to pay for those bills.
Okay,
take
Jim,
care of your necessities.
Hang on one second. We need to take a break. We'll come back to the top 5 signs you might be in trouble with debt. Again, it is Jim Haller. He's with the Bankruptcy Company. Website, by the way, is thebankruptcycompany.net. His top 5 right after this here on The Mindset. Again, talking with Jim Haller with the Bankruptcy Company. Jim, we got our top 5 reasons or top 5 signs you may be in trouble with the debts. Let's go to number 5. What do you have?
Well, number 5, if you're dipping into your 401k or retirement plan to pay your bills, you know you're going to have a problem. And I usually recommend that people don't do that because your 401k and your retirement plans are generally protected from collection. So if you're doing that, you're considering that, you know you're going to have a little bit of a problem.
Okay, what about sales? You always hear that's good to generate a little extra cash, but that could be a warning sign.
Yeah, if you're considering pawning or selling your belongings, sometimes that's okay to generate some money. But if you're using it to pay, for example, last month's utility bills, you know you're having a problem, and so you need to watch out for it. That's number 4. Number 3 is what I call credit card juggling.
That's what I was talking about earlier. Okay, I got you. There it is.
Credit card juggling is where you have several credit cards and you're paying the credit cards off with other credit cards. My opinion is basically that you shouldn't. People really can't borrow their way to get out of debt unless you happen to be a national big bank. Generally, that's not going to work for you.
You're not going to get a bailout, are you?
You're not going to get a bailout. Number 2 is, are you having to go to payday loan lenders to make ends meet? What's your interest rate? Are you having to renew your payday loans consistently? Lately, in the last few years, Missouri and Illinois have put some caps on those things, but in my practice, the highest payday loan I've ever seen was over 1,000% annual interest.
Oh, man.
And somebody just kept rolling over and rolling over and rolling over their loans. So if you go into payday loans, the end is pretty much near because you've pretty much exhausted all of your resources. And the number 1 reason why you may want to get in and talk to somebody about your problems is if you're behind on something, on a payment that's really important to you, like a house or a car, and you just can't get caught up. If the bank's been calling you about coming out and taking the car or starting a repossession, or most particularly if they've started a foreclosure or they've repossessed your vehicle, you immediately need to get in and talk to somebody. In a foreclosure situation in Missouri, from the time they file it to the time they could technically sell your house is a very short period of time, just a little over a month and 30 days approximately. And a lot of times it's a little bit more than that, but if you want to protect your home, you need to get in and talk to somebody. And we practice bankruptcy, and a lot of times we can stop those foreclosures, but we have to do it before the sale.
Okay, again, it's thebankruptcycompany.net. Jim, thanks so much. This is The Mindset on the Big 550 KTRS.